rebuild of the favorites. We here for the latest. South side or the north side, not tuned to the greatest. Home team for the home teams. Both sides got our own rings. On the mound or the long ball, but we don't put the wrong strings. Yeah. It's that time of the year now. Wrigley or guarantee, so the whole league that we here now. New show with a new mood. Discussions and interviews. Trade rumors that might be. This is Pinwheels and Knife.
Hello and welcome to the Pinwheels pregame show, bringing you White Sox talk every Wednesday during the 12 o'clock hour. Barely fit that in. We got 2 minutes to spare in the 12 o'clock hour. A little bit later today, unfortunately, on the way over, I was working out at the YMCA. I came out and my car door had a massive dent in the side of it because someone had apparently hit it. And as it turns out, dealing with insurance companies, kind of a pain in the ass. So delayed the show a little bit. A little bit of a shorter version of the show because of that. However, if you do want some extended White Sox talk, I was on the CHGO podcast with Sean Anderson yesterday. You can give that episode a listen. You can find it at Mitch Kaminski 99 as well if you want more extended White Sox baseball talk this week. But there's a couple things I do want to discuss. You know, baseball finally back officially. We had that Tokyo series with the Dodgers and Cubs. I'll be honest, I didn't wake up early enough to watch it. Highlights, though, it looked really cool. Really good atmosphere out there too. I like the fact that they do those series. I don't know if opening day is the best time to do it, but I get why the MLB has to do it because I have heard some pushback. It's like it's weird that they're starting the season a week before everyone else does, but you almost kind of have to with the time change in Japan. Like if you're gonna do that, you almost need to start it a week before so these guys can come back and like not be all jet lagged and be at a massive disadvantage heading back into that 162 game season grind. So good to see some Allied baseball being played. It's for the White Sox. That season coming up next week should be exciting against the Angels. And we now know who the opening day starter is going to be. Sean Burke named the opening day starter. I really like this move from the White Sox. This is 2 years in a row. I think they have went with the guy, one, that they've drafted. It's like their own guy. So they're showing, hey, we can develop pitchers. So that's number one. Two, it's a homegrown guy. Three, I think it was based off of merit. I think a lot of people, myself included, had assumed once they signed Martin Perez, kind of the veteran in the room, he was going to be the guy that got the opening day start. But Burke had a pretty solid camp for the most part. Had a really good season last year when he came up for 19 innings. He had a sub-2 ERA for the White Sox, made a couple starts, looked really good. So I'm glad they're going with the merit-based guy once again, and it's one of their homegrown guys. They're rewarding someone that has been in the organization. Sean Burke's got a really coal journey. It's kind of like Garrett Crochet from last year. Now, I don't think he's as talented as Crochet. The guy's got a lot of talent, but kind of similar like last year. You know, this is a guy that White Sox drafted in the third round, and coming out of high school, you know, he was really a basketball and baseball standout in his high school in Connecticut. Well, his senior year of high school, he missed his whole senior season. It looked like his baseball career was going to be on hold. He had to undergo Tommy John surgery. So he misses his whole senior year. He has to get redshirted at Maryland, works his way back. His final 2 years in Maryland, he was a stud. Earned him a third-round draft pick with the White Sox. Led all White Sox minor leaguers in strikeouts in 2022. So it looked like he was headed out of the right trajectory. 2023, all of a sudden, he's got some nagging rotator cuff issues. Keeps him out for an extended period of time. He has to grind his way back, working his way through the White Sox minor league system last year. Finally gets his chance late in September, makes the most of it. Now he's your opening day starter. Easy guy to root for. I mean, like, yeah, how do you not like? I love a good perseverance story like that. I like the fact, again, like they gave it, I think, based off of merit and just hand it to the veteran that everyone had assumed would be. I was a little surprised it wasn't Davis Martin, but, you know, along the same ilk, that's a pretty good way to start the season with Sean Burke. And honestly, I'm pretty excited about this rotation in general. Now, Sean Burke's a guy I don't want to get my expectations too high, but he's kind of a sneaky candidate that I have stashed away. If you do fantasy baseball, there's a lot of potential upside there. Like if you want a late round pitcher that could have a lot of upside, Sean Burke. Like, his strikeout numbers were really good last year. His stuff plays really well. The biggest concern with him is the walk rate. He does walk a lot of guys. There are a bit of control issues. If you can hone in on those, this guy could be a stud. The rotation in general, I'm very excited about. Now, Jonathan Cannon, little concerning. I'm not sold on Jonathan Cannon. I didn't think he looked all that great last year. I think he was getting hit around way too much. Was not missing bats enough, and the contact teams were making off of him was hard contact. We're seeing it again in spring. Now, again, spring training, you can't really look in too much into the pitching stats because they're working on stuff, but I saw him get tattooed a bunch last year. They're barreling up again this spring. He's a little concerning. But outside of Cannon, this is a pretty exciting rotation. Like, honestly, there's no games. Like, a lot of times last year, I would be watching these games, and, you'd have a Chris Flexen start, who I had nothing against Chris Flexen. I thought he competed hard for us. But, like, you're watching Chris Flexen. It's like, man, why am I even watching this game? He's not going to be on the team next year. He's got like a 5-something ERA. Like, you're going to get your ass kicked this game. There's a lot of games that it wasn't worth watching. Well, this year, it's kind of exciting. Davis Martin with that new kick change, we talked about that a while ago. He's a guy I think is going to be fun to watch. Could potentially turn into a legitimate number 2 starter in this league on a contending team, let alone just the White Sox. Burke, again, we talked about. He's exciting. Martin Perez, yeah, he's not part of the team long-term, but when Martin Perez takes the ball, I think you have a shot to win that day. So your top 3 guys in the rotation right there, I honestly pretty solid. Cannon, again, we'll see kind of what he is. And you're going to have some more guys coming up later in the season. We'll probably get to see as well. Thorpe's working his way back from an injury. Be happy to see where he leaves off and how he looks. So overall, I'm very excited about that rotation. Now let's get into that. Because of that, that's one of the reasons I think this team could be a little bit better than people think. Now, I don't think they're going to be good. I think they finished last in the AL Central by far. And they're probably one of the worst teams in the American League, obviously. But I do think you're going to see significant improvement from last year. I think you can see a 20-game improvement. Now, yesterday on CHGO, I predicted, they asked me what my prediction was for the win total. I'm going to alter that a little bit. I think I was a little over-optimistic. We're still going to say, I said 65 wins. 24-win improvement might be a little bit overly optimistic, but I do think they can get to 60. Yeah, I think there's no reason they can't win at least 60 games. 50 for sure. I think if you hammer that over 50 wins bet, that's a good bet. Number 1, again, with the rotation, I think the rotation is significantly improved from last year. You got some exciting arms in there. And unlike last year with Garrett Crochet, when they saw he was good and he was going to be this big trade candidate, he kind of got put on an innings restriction, which you probably won't see with Deshaun Burke this year. If he's pitching really well, like Garrett Crochet level, I don't know if he gets to that level, but if he's pitching well, he's not going to be on an innings restriction. So that's number 1. I think the rotation is going to be improved. Number 2, I like the pieces they have in place look pretty good as far as from coaching standpoint. I think it's a really strong coaching staff. And I think adding Will Venable is really going to help. Because Will Venable doesn't come across as like some phony rah-rah guy. That I think he's someone that players will respect a little bit more. He's been in a winning system under Bruce Bochy. That's going to account. I think that alone accounts for an extra 3 to 5 wins just right there by having a good manager in place. With the offense, too. Offensively, this team was terrible last year. They're not going to be good again this year, but you got a lot more professional hitters in the lineup. Chris Getz really made a concerted effort to bring in guys that have a high walk rate and a good understanding of the strike zone. Miguel Rojas is an example of this. Mike Tauchman's an example of this. Slater's an example of this. These are guys that got 10-plus walk rates and don't strike out a ton. So I think that helps a lot, too. You're going to have these young prospects injected into the lineup as well. Luis Robert, fingers crossed, he looks healthy. Obviously, the White Sox are motivated to trade him, but Chris Getz coming out, he predicts he's going to be an MVP caliber player. Now, I know Chris Getz has to do that. He's trying to sell a used car in Luis Robert. You're trying to jack up that price. But we know what Robert can do. If he is healthy, there's no reason you can't expect a 20-plus homer season, 20-plus stolen bases, and above-average defense. I'd take that. So I think you have a healthy Robert. That's going to help a lot, too. So those 2 things alone, better starting pitching, you get better coaching staff. The lineup has got professional hitters. And even though we do trade a lot of these guys away, you're going to have Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz probably late September getting called up. They're going to be shoving late innings too. So even when they trade away some of these guys, you're going to get some exciting prospects coming up right away. And, there's going to be some growing pains. Again, it's not like 60 wins is a lot of wins, but it's a pretty big improvement from last year. So I think they can do it. The biggest concern for me, where this prediction could come back to bite me, and where this team will be bad, and this is where it's going to happen. The bullpen's a mess right now. There are so many question marks in that bullpen. You really don't know what you're going to get. Cam Boozer, could he be good? Maybe. You don't really know. I mean, Prelander Barreau is a guy that I think a lot of people, myself included, had pegged as the closer for this team. Now he's out for the season with Tommy John surgery. So, who's your late inning guy? Mike Clevenger? That's a huge question mark, too. He's never been he's never been a closer in the MLB. Last time he was a reliever was back in college, pretty much. So, massive question mark there. So that's where this team's going to be hurt. I think is going to be the bullpen. And defensively, there's some question marks too. Now, if Janikowski makes this team, I do think like in left field and center field, now it does look like Benintendi is going to be back for opening day, and he kind of heated up a little bit end of last year too. So I think that it's going to help too. If you have like a little bit better production out of Benintendi, he plays close to what like the White Sox thought they were getting when they paid him that $75 million contract. But defensively, that's another that could go either way. A little concerned about the defense as well. I don't think it's going to be a great defensive team. The bullpen's concerning, but I do think they've made enough improvements where there's no reason this team can't win at least 60 games, in my opinion. I would not be shocked if it happened. Let's put it that way. But like, I do think you hammer over 50 wins. They're going to win more than 50 games. It's not going to be a repeat of last season. It's also simply from the fact they had so much bad luck last season. Like, even though that team was one of the worst rosters I've ever seen. But I mean, they caught a lot of bad luck, like home runs getting robbed late. Like guys would be smoking balls and the other team would like make a diving catch. There's a game I was at against, they were playing the Colorado Rockies. It was the battle of mediocrity on a July day. And it went to 14 innings this game. And the White Sox had so many chances to win this game. There was one ball Luis Robert hit. I looked like it was going to be a walk-off in the center field. It went like sprinting in and like laid out and made like a diving headfirst catch. It was like the second ball he'd robbed today. And it's like only the White Sox. And then the Rockies will hit some like blooper off the end of the bat and somehow it would drop. It would just be like a full season full of that. That I don't think that can happen. I don't think that's going to happen again. And you're going to see a lot of these mental mistakes, I think, cleaned up because you're bringing in veterans that have been there before. Like they know what, they go about their business the right way. And you have, I would hope, a coaching staff that's going to instill a little bit more discipline and hold these players accountable. Another thing to be excited about too, and I think the White Sox may have struck gold with this one, but Drury looks really, really good in camp. Brandon Drury's a guy that are back in the old, the throwback Pinwheels and Ivy days. Southside Zoe, big Drury fan. Now they finally get him after coming off it down there, but he's a guy that's shown he's a former Silver Slugger winner. He's had pretty good production before. I mean, he's 2 years removed from, I think he had like a 20-plus home run season, and then things kind of fell off last year. But, what really stands out to me is the improved bat speed. Yeah, this spring, they're saying his average was like 78 mile an hour was his bat spring average, which last season it was at 72. Now, baseball, they consider anything above 75 miles an hour is like a fast bat speed. And just to get why would you want a fast bat speed? A lot of people think the quicker your bat speed is, the exit velocity is going to increase and you're more efficient through the zone. And, if you look at the top, 25 players in bat speed last year, you're going to see a lot of the top hitters. Like Shohei Ohtani was in the top 10 in bat speed last year. I think he was around 76 miles an hour. Drury all of a sudden up at 78. And you're seeing the results in camp. He's smoking baseballs. He hit one at 108 the other day. He's got 3 homers. 2 of those were absolute moonshots. And he's had a pretty big sample size in camp too. So I think he's a guy that breaks camp as your opening day DH. You see him in the lineup a couple times a week when, they want to give maybe my drop at second base or whoever's playing second to rest or Vargas, they give him a day off at third. They make Vargas the DH. So I think with Drury's versatility, he's going to be their starting DH. And then when they need a guy to get a day off, they'll kind of plug him in the lineup if he can carry this over. But that's very encouraging for me too. Another guy I think the White Sox could try and flip at the deadline. Probably get some good prospects for him if he keeps up the power numbers. But he's got very encouraged about because he's not a scrub. Like we've seen him be successful in the MLB before, and judging off the spring, it looks like he's on track to have a similar repeat type season. So cautiously optimistic about Brandon Drury. Again, spring training results, you got to take them with a grain of salt. Like Zach Collins a couple years ago, and I made this he had a great spring training, and I'm writing all these, this guy should be the starting catcher. Yeah, well, we saw what happened once the pitchers actually start trying, and they're not working on stuff all spring. Yeah, those numbers fell off the cliff. So don't want to get too overly excited about spring training numbers, but he's passing the eye test. He is certainly passing the eye test, and it's not like he hasn't proven that he can be a good MLB hitter. We're talking about a former Silver Slugger here. So for all those reasons, White Sox, I think, win 60 games. At least 60. Yesterday I said 65. We're going with 60 today. We're going to tone it down a little bit. But you know what? Yeah, why go into a season being miserable? Baseball's supposed to be fun. I can be miserable midway through June when they're getting their ass handed to them. Heading into the season, man, it takes why waste all that negative energy on being pissed off about a team? I'm coming in optimistic. And optimistic for a White Sox fan is 60 wins. And that's kind of sad. Hopefully, Jerry, you sell the team soon so we can turn this thing around. But that's all I got for you. Sorry, it's a little bit of a abbreviated episode because of insurance and car crap, but we'll make it up for you next week. More of an extended episode leading into the season. I believe it'll fall on the day before opening day. So we'll have a big ramp up for opening day next Wednesday. Hope to see you there. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week.